Being a toy tester is brutal. I was stuck working late when I heard a man breathing behind me. Turns out it was my boss. The air smelled faintly of rubber. I'd been testing new toys all day, so I'd crouched in the blind spot of the security cameras to steal a few lazy minutes. This lousy job isn't worth the grief. I was cursing under my breath when a warm exhale brushed the top of my head. I jerked my chin up and slammed straight into a pair of glacial eyes. Adrian. He was staring at the chunky little gadget in my hand, the corner of his mouth hooked in a half smirk. My brain blue screened. Reflex screamed to hide the prop, but in my panic I thumbed the power button. The thing sprang to life, twitching gleefully in my palm. The air froze for 3 solid seconds. The clack of leather soles on tile cracked through the narrow silence. I could literally hear my heart panic, dread, and shame I couldn't mask. Keep going. His voice was low, humid with authority. Don't stop. I crushed the toy in a death grip, body locked like a statue. If he weren't my boss, I'd already have shoved the gadget in his face. What's he so cocky about? Money makes you king. Adrian looked down at me, eyes storm dark. He flicked the toy with a lazy knuckle, and the casual swipe made my eyelid twitch. Pretty professional, he murmured, words drifting like ash. Relax. His tone was weirdly gentle. Proceed. I'm just curious. Like hell. I sucked in a ragged breath and, hands shaking, stuffed the toy into my tote. Then I stood, eyes on the floor, playing the dutiful drone. Caldwell. Tonight was a misunderstanding. My shift's over. If there's nothing else, I'll be going. I pivoted, only for Adrian's arm to bar my way. He smiled like he knew a secret. Name? My lungs seized. I pressed my lips shut. Crap. Am I fired? He narrowed his eyes. Playful. Test technician Luna, right? A giant fist closed around my heart. Breathing hurt. He's known all along. Adrian chuckled. Relish thick in his throat. Cat got your tongue. Did I misremember? He's baiting me, but he signs my paycheck. So I clung to composure. I was doing my job. I didn't get in Caldwell's way. Job? He tasted the word. Smile widening. Fancy a different one? My face drained. He studied me, then straightened and flicked an invisible speck from his lapel. My office. 10 tomorrow. He left. I stayed, drenched in cold sweat. Guess that's the end of my career. Next morning I walked into Adrian's office exactly at 10. The golden contract. Adrian drawled, sliding a single sheet across the mahogany with 2 fingers. I took it and read the sparse lines. Party B, Luna, shall serve as Party A, Adrian's private tester, obeying all directives without refusal. Compensation, the $5 million bonus. A gilded cage, plain as day. Still, that amount could bankroll the rest of my life. The contract is temporary. Cash is forever. He smiled. You can always decline. Sign or walk. I signed. Duh. Lightning luck like this doesn't strike twice, but I faked reluctance. Can't look desperate. I stared at the gleaming page, closed my eyes, fingers trembling with joy. When I finished, I lifted my head, voice flat. Caldwell, may I leave now? Adrian rolled the contract away and murmured, time to work. I blinked. He opened a drawer and tossed something onto the desk. A palm-sized black velvet box stamped with a discreet, blush-worthy logo. I lifted the lid. Inside lay a slim silver chain ending in a delicate clasp. Collar. Definitely a collar. I looked up, protest forming, but Adrian was already ordering, lazy as ever. You know what to do. I stared at the glinting links. Frozen. Problem? He tapped the desktop, half smiling. Finally, I picked it up. The cool metal tickled my skin. I moved slowly, a zero experience, but for 5 million I'd brave anything. The clasp clicked shut at my nape. Adrian's eyes glittered. He rose. Perfect. He gathered the trailing end, and I trotted after him like a leashed pet. Elevator to the top floor private lounge. Door shut. Lock snapped. Leash dropped. Hot? His voice dropped an octave, leaving no room for refusal. I stood stone still, reading the subtext. When I didn't move, he closed in and yanked the clasp free. Cold air rushed under my collar. I shivered, way too breezy. He tugged the chain, steering me to the sofa. Sit. I perched rigid, spine plank straight, waiting. Adrian shrugged off his suit jacket, letting it fall beside me, then leaned in, breath warm against my ear. Luna, starting today I'll train you personally. The words rumbled, threaded with amusement. I had no idea what that meant. He toyed with me like a cat with a skittish kitten, erasing my space inch by inch. Fingers tilted my chin up until I met his stare. Black. Fathomless. Relax, he coaxed. Voice silk. Obey, and you won't get hurt. My brain screeched. I slammed my eyes shut, refusing to witness whatever came next. He laughed softly, thumb grazing my lower lip, the touch equal parts tender and terrifying. You know I hate defiance. Then he kissed me. Hard. Reality surpassed every nightmare. Adrian wasn't stopping at verbal sparring. Eyes wide. I shoved at his chest, but the strength gap was laughable. I couldn't budge. His mouth was ruthless, claiming, almost devouring. I writhed. The chain tightened, nape stinging. I'd walked into a trap. Contract. My foot. This was a deed of sale. Body included. Pure impulse. Zero foresight. My resistance only sharpened his hunger. The kiss turned savage. Hips pinning me. I gave up. 5 million. Endure, and it's yours. When he finally broke away, lust stormed in his gaze. I shoved free and collapsed against the cushions. Gasping for air, Adrian looked down at me. Voice gravel rough. Don't be scared. This is only the beginning. Way too sudden for a beginning. I thought. I said nothing. Seeing that, his eyes darkened another shade. Luna, you signed the golden contract. You know what's expected. He gave a light tug to the silver chain in his hand. The metallic chime rang loud in the empty room. He crouched, pinched my chin, and forced me to meet his stare. You've tested every toy on the market. Why not sample the real thing? He murmured, a low laugh curling around the words. I might be a professional toy tester, but I've never even had a boyfriend. I couldn't handle flirtation this blatant. I tried to pull away, but he scooped me into his arms in one motion. His voice dropped to a whisper. From today on, you serve only me. Understand? You belong to me. What does he take me for? I bit my lip, shame and despair flooding me. He held me, fingers stroking my spine in slow, calming sweeps, as if gentling a terrified kitten. Good girl, stop struggling. Just stay in my arms. I regretted everything. I should never have sold myself for the $5 million bonus. The waterfront loft was huge, but the air was so cold I felt faint. The silver chain was still clasped to my throat, its other end gathered in his fist like an invisible leash. He had no intention of removing it. He simply led me along. He paused, glanced back, voice softening. Hungry? I rubbed my growling stomach. Starving. Adrian smiled, tugged the chain, and guided me to the dining area. The marble table glittered with fragrant dishes, everything arranged exactly as he'd planned. He pulled out a chair, still holding the chain. He stepped behind me and traced one finger from its end up to my collarbone, soothing. Warning. He spooned soup to my lips. Eat. I pressed my mouth shut, then surrendered and opened. Better full than hungry. The broth was perfect. It tasted like cardboard. Adrian watched with an almost pathologic focus, as if admiring a priceless acquisition. The meal felt endless, airless. When at last I set my chopsticks down, he dabbed the corner of my mouth like I was a toddler. Behave and you'll hurt less. I sneered inside, careful not to show it. He led me to the bedroom, chain in hand. The decor was minimalist blizzard gray, cold, sterile. He unclipped the chain and gestured toward the bed. Sleep here tonight. I stood frozen, dreading the implied order. His eyes narrowed, then curved into another smile as he leaned to my ear. Need me to tuck you in myself? I climbed onto the bed and curled into a ball before he could. Adrian stayed, sitting on the edge. He watched me until, inevitably, his hand closed around my ankle, tethered the silver chain to the footboard. Relax. It's long enough to turn over. I couldn't look at him. He was actually afraid I'd bolt. When he lay down beside me, I stiffened, but he did nothing more. The next morning the tiny bell woke me, its tinkling right beside my ear. Adrian stood holding a white sundress, impeccable cut, couture fabric. Yet to me it looked like another cage. He told me to put it on. We were going out. After days trapped inside, even a walk with him felt like freedom. At the upscale bistro he seated us. Smile. We don't get out often. I dragged my lips into the grimmest grin imaginable and took the pastry he offered, swallowing past nausea. However divine the food, I had no stomach for it. My docility pleased him. His touches softened, but I couldn't keep this up. I was cracking. Halfway through, I mumbled, restroom, desperate for a single unchained breath. The chain twitched the instant I moved. What's the rush? I'll come, he drawled, pressure wrapped in silk. My blood iced. I'd thought he'd unhook me. Instead, he followed straight into the ladies' room. Back in the car the silence smothered. I stared out the window, plotting. I didn't want the $5 million bonus anymore. On the way out I'd spotted the spare key in the foyer lock, grab it, and I was free. I had to run. Night. The loft was eerily still. On my side, I stared at the ceiling, chain looped around my ankle. The faintest shift rang its tiny alarm. Adrian lay inches away. When his breathing deepened, I slid the catch open and freed my foot. Bare feet on cold marble, I inched toward the foyer, heart hammering. The drawer, right there. My fingertips brushed metal. A low voice sliced the dark. Looking for something? I whirled, cold sweat blooming. Adrian in pajamas, a silhouette beneath the sconce, looked demon-born. I hid the key behind my back. Just thirsty. He lifted a brow, closed the distance. Really? I nodded, spine pressed to the cabinet. He stopped inches away. Show me what's in your hand. My fingers shook around the icy metal. He bent to my ear. Don't make me force you. Eyes shut. I produced the key. He plucked it away, seized my chin. Planning to leave? A humorless smile tugged his mouth. I overestimated you. Still not trained. He yanked me against him. I struggled. He twisted my wrist until I winced. From nowhere came leather restraints. Adrian, you're insane. He smiled, eyes dead. Thank me. I'm being gentle. Chain in one fist. He snapped. Since you like running, let's make that impossible. Pinned to the wall. I watched him fasten a new, shorter silver chain around my ankle. Click, so tight walking would be luxury now. I glared at him, unblinking. Adrian merely lifted a hand and brushed my cheek. Behave this time. Don't squirm. If I come home and find the lock broken, I'll punish you. Then he turned and walked out. The door slammed shut. I sat on the cold floor, eyes burning, regretting everything. Freedom was inches away and yet miles out of reach. I never should have sold myself for money, but what good was remorse now? I curled into a ball, hugging my knees, tears dripping one by one into the thin fabric. I would escape, whatever the price. Click. Adrian himself loosened the shackle. You were good today. He stood over me, long fingers grazing my wrist, voice husky, almost gentle. I didn't resist. I let him lead me, docile, arms slack at my sides. Adrian smiled, pleased, and dropped the softest kiss on my forehead. Have you finally thought it through? He asked. Careful. Testing. I drew a slow breath and nodded. Yes. He narrowed his eyes, searching my face for cracks. My mask was flawless as meek, indifferent. Exactly the same as always, only more obedient. From that day on, Adrian grew softer. No more brute force, rarely the old props. As if too much pressure might scare me off, he began choosing my clothes himself. No more sterile whites, only pale, tender hues. At dinner he no longer fed me bite by bite. Instead, he quietly shelled shrimp, poured soup, pampering me in every small way. He even started taking me outside. Adrian seemed like a different man. Still, he forbade me a single word to anyone else. To the world, we looked like any loving couple. I played along, trotting the path he drew, while I mapped my getaway in secret. I knew what kind of man he was. He liked pliant, so I gave him the show, and his guard dropped, visible to the naked eye. I was almost there. Yet every night, when the city went quiet, he would sit on the edge of the bed, staring. I pretended sleep, lids cracked just enough to watch him through the dark. His profile was cold, aloof, but in that hush his edges dulled, replaced by exhaustion, even fragility. He would wait until he thought I slept and then whisper, so low it might have been a dream, Luna, you'll never know how long I've waited. A pause, then a self-mocking laugh, but this is the only way I can keep you. Will you hate me for it? I couldn't name what I felt inside. He grew more cautious, asking, did today make you happy? Name the place. I'll go with you. Could we try being together? Just us? He no longer pushed. He feigned patience, waiting for my answer. He truly believed I was tamed, that I'd surrendered, but my heart had already frozen solid. I only wanted out. The chance came sooner than expected. Adrian was summoned to an emergency meeting, 2 days out of town. Before leaving, he actually handed me the spare key and told me to stay put until he returned. I promised. His eyes darkened. He bent to kiss me, holding back like he might break me. Don't be afraid while I'm gone. I'll be back soon. When I return, we'll take a trip, just the two of us, okay? I inclined my head, thinking, don't ever come back. Once he left, I packed light, only my ID and a few hundred in cash. When Adrian handed me the spare key, he never imagined I'd dare run. I knew the consequences if I enraged him, but staying was the real prison. I wore drab clothes, cap pulled low, the key slid in, the lock clicked. I sucked in air and pushed, ready to bolt. Before I could step out, a familiar cologne hit me. I jerked my head up. Adrian stood there, suited, tie loosened, face storm black. I froze, no excuse rising. He said nothing, gaze swallowing me whole. The key still hung in the lock. The air solidified. Adrian spoke, voice low almost to a growl. Where do you think you're going? Silence. He stepped closer, blocking the door. I knew he could snap me in half. Answer. I stepped back on instinct, spine hitting the panel. Adrian laughed. A cold, lethal sound. I was gone 5 minutes. Couldn't wait to run? His fury sparked another laugh. Talk to me. Luna, didn't you say you'd thought it through? Still I said nothing. His smile vanished. He released me, slammed the door shut with a crack that rattled my bones. I shook so hard my knees buckled. Adrian loomed, voice raw, still still not obedient enough. I see. He lifted the familiar silver chain. Since you won't stay nicely, we'll teach you the rules the hard way. My pleas meant nothing. Cold metal closed around my ankle, scraping skin, binding me like fate. I stared down, heart a graveyard. Adrian fastened the clasp and murmured, Luna, you have no idea how long I've been holding back. My breath caught. He smiled, eyes bleak. Think you can still escape? You believe you can go back to your old life? He seized my chin, fingers crushing bone. Listen well, you can't go back. You belong to me, even in death. Voice dropping to a snarl. Try again and I add another lock. Run once more and I'll cripple you. My heart convulsed. I huddled against the door. Air knocked from my lungs. He turned away, tone shredded. Stop testing me. Luna, you'll never break free. Then he faced me again, a tired ghost of a smile on his lips. Can't you even pretend to try with me? Fake love would be enough. Disbelief filled my stare. Why does it have to be me? Adrian froze, then gave a strangled laugh. Because I love you. Only you. Freedom was gone for good. Adrian sat on the couch smoking in silence. He, who had never dared light up in front of me, now filling the room with haze. His eyes never left me, weaving an invisible net, tighter every second. I was a caged animal, exhausting myself against unbreakable bars. The curtains stayed drawn. The room lay in twilight dusk. I sat on the edge of the bed, woodenly staring at the floor, as if every sense had been drained from me. I had stopped struggling. No more tantrums. No tears. No pleas. I just sat, quiet as a puppet whose soul had been snipped away. Adrian watched me, brows knitted, exhaustion swimming in his eyes like I'd never seen. He leaned against the sofa, and only after a long stretch did he speak. Luna, could you look at me? I didn't move, didn't even roll my eyes. Adrian laughed under his breath, a bitter, hopeless sound. Do you find me disgusting? Still no answer. I kept my head down, a body vacuumed clean of life, frighteningly still. He walked over, knelt beside the mattress, fingers reaching, before he could brush me. I flinched away, barely a twitch, but it cracked across his face like a slap. Adrian froze, hand hovering, then slowly took it back. I'm sorry. His eyes were bloodshot, voice scraped raw. I was wrong. I only wanted to keep you, to not lose you. But this is worse than death. After the depression took hold, Adrian changed. No more silver chain, no more orders, not even a locked door. He'd say, leave whenever you want. I never moved, never left. I was a plant dead at the root, too spent to run. He started courting me like a clumsy kid, cooked the dishes I used to love, set them on the table, coaxed. Just a bite? I sat expressionless, then lowered my head and swallowed spoonful after spoonful. The flavors were mild, pristine, and ice-cold. They stirred nothing inside. He took me to movies, galleries, the ocean, even bought a little beach house. Wind-whipped my hair while I watched the waves slam the rocks. Adrian stood behind me, respectful distance. No forcing, no touching. Luna, he called softly, fatigue cracking his voice. I didn't turn, stood letting the wind slice through me, salt sting and bone cold. The sea felt good. That night back at the cottage he busied himself in the kitchen. I curled on the sofa under a throw while some brainless variety show flickered. He carried out plates. Little Luna, eat something? I shook my head. He sighed, set them down, sat opposite, silence, canned laughter our only company. Finally he rasped, I really love you. I lifted my gaze, flat, ripple-free. He smiled wryly. You're the first person I both crave and fear losing. I thought if I could control you, I'd never lose you. Turns out the thing I kept was only an empty shell. I'd rather you cursed me, hit me, hated me, even fled, anything. As long as it proves you're still alive. I hugged the blanket tighter, a sudden thorn in my chest. Much later I croaked, Adrian, let me go. He went rigid, as if the word had arrowed his heart. All right, I'll set you free. And he did. When I left he leaned against the jamb, face calm, exhaustion leaking through. No argument, no plea. As I turned away I thought I heard a whispered, goodbye. I didn't look back. I was free. I rebooted my life elsewhere. New city. Work by day. Overtime by night. Weekends on the couch with old hobbies. Clockwork quiet. A stale pond of routine. No silver chain. No surveillance. No tether. No one. On sleepless nights I dreamed of that beach evening. Gale churning. Adrian at a safe distance. No demands. For a moment I almost believed we could be normal. I'd wake with wet lashes. Late one night a message popped up from an old colleague. Luna, that project you loved? Adrian closed the deal himself. I stared until the screen dimmed. Adrian. I thought the name would stay behind me, but it burrowed like a splinter. Shift and it tore. I packed a small bag and returned to the familiar shore. The briny wind stung my scalp. Far off, the cottage lights glowed, curtains gaping, a silhouette moving inside inside. I hesitated outside the gate, then knocked. The door opened. Adrian in a plain hoodie, thinner, cheekbones sharper, surprise flooding his eyes. He stood afraid to breathe, as if any motion might send me running. I bit my lip. "May I come in?" He snapped from his daze, stepped aside. Same furniture, same scent. The throw folded exactly as before. Time had paused. "Have you been okay?" he asked. Voice fragile. "No." I swallowed. "I want to stay." He froze, then managed, "I won't lock you in. Ever." For the first time I reached for his hand, squeezing. "Then don't ever push me out again." Understanding flared. He gripped back so hard my bones sang, lowered his head to my fingers as though they were treasure. Too precious to crush. Too precious to drop. I did stay. No silver. No golden contract. Just two people. One roof. Adrian is still intense. Still possessive. But he's learned restraint. Patience. Softness. And I no longer run. I once thought freedom meant escape. Now I know it isn't a place or the absence of someone. It's lying beside him. Unmasked. Unafraid. Outside. Dawn creeps over the waves. I rest against his shoulder, counting the steady drum of his heart. The wind is gentle tonight. The dark smooth. Like us, finally home in each other.